I'm Tanya Fox, and you're listening to Fox Talks Business Podcast. I started my career in the corporate world, but always played to my own tune and loved to think outside of the box. This didn't always serve me well with the bosses, so I made the decision to become an entrepreneur. And that little seed of entrepreneurial curiosity continued to grow as I branched out into retail, service, and franchise businesses. Now, I have been fortunate to have amazing successes in the last 2 decades, but they did not come without some really big failures and even bigger lessons learned. And that's why I started this podcast, not just to share the failures, but to show you how you can turn every failure into a success. We're going to hear from some amazing humans from around the world that are going to share their stories of the good, the bad, and the motivational entrepreneurial life has to offer. After all, life is too short to make all of the mistakes yourself, so why not learn from each other? And of course, we're going to have some fun, because as I always say, well, you know what? I'll tell you that at the end of the episode. Hello, Foxy listeners. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is going to be an episode that I think you're going to go back to and listen time and time again, because my guest, Joanna, has the thing that you've been asking for. But first, let's get to know her. Joanna, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Can you give us a little bit of a background on you, who you are, how you kind of got into this work?
Oh, how many hours do we have? Well, let's see. The short version is that I was a seeker and I needed something for myself. So as many of us, we do something that we have been convinced of being a good thing. We become the professors of something, and since it was so wonderful, we want to spread it to the world. And yes, the struggle and the discomfort, feelings that were all over the place, fears, worries, concerns. Am I doing the right thing? What are people going to think? All of those things were bothering me, and so step by step, I started questioning the church. I started questioning, what is it all for? And yes, I found some amazing tools that I just have to spread to everyone else who needs it and wants it.
Well, and we were talking a little bit off air, and I said, a lot of the listeners have said to me, like, they really are in this mode, especially of everything that's kind of gone on recently, of not knowing, like, do I believe my feelings? Do I believe my gut? Do I believe intuition? How do I know what is what? So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, I help people with their feelings primarily. They come because they have stress, anxiety, worries, concerns, and I use EFT tapping as the basis. That's how I started. I started with EFT, and it's an amazing method. But there are other things that you might want to consider. And this question that you have about intuition and a higher knowing, not a religious God, or you can call it whatever you want, but there's something, we're communicating with something that actually wants us to do better. It tries to guide us. I've felt this guidance myself, and it's not easy to follow it, but it always wants our well-being. So when we worry, when we have these negative feelings, they're not necessarily warning. Someone else just the other day was saying that, oh, the negativity is warnings. Well, or fears.
Right.
And most often they're fears, concerns. Whereas the intuition is that feeling that, yes, let's do that. Why not? It might feel a bit uncertain, it might feel a bit scary, but that's kind of part of it when you're embarking on a new route and a new journey. Follow it, let that be part of it, those little butterflies, but follow that intuition, the guidance that is the good feeling. So follow your feelings. That's my short answer.
Well, and I think, so often, I mean, anybody who's an entrepreneur knows you never start out going, "Oh, this is 100% going to work," right? We all have that hope. We're like, "Okay, I think I have everything like crossed and dotted," but you're still going into an unknown. You're still like, "Well,
Hmm.
it's a gamble." No
Yes.
matter what it is you do or how long you've been in business. I mean, I've been in business, for 25 years, and there's still those moments where I'm like, it might be something I've done before, but I'm like, it's a different time. There's different circumstances. There's, something else is
Exactly.
different. I still kind of get that like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. But for me, I think it's that feeling that there's always something else that it's just not letting it go. I can't let
Mm,
it go. It always
exactly.
kind of comes back into my head, and that's usually when I'm like, okay, I need to do this because I
Yes.
something's not letting me let it go.
And ideally, that's a good feeling, right? I mean, you might be have questions about it, but in the main feeling, that the biggest picture of it all is that it's positive.
Mhm.
So just follow that, because so many of us want the shortcut. Let's hurry up and get it done. What's the best route? What's the cheapest route? But I believe that something wants us to experience life, not get there the fastest. I mean, once you get there, then what? I
Right.
mean, life is that journey. Life is all the experiences, all the victories, everything you've overcome is actually sweeter once you've overcome it than the easy route. I mean, it seems like the easy route is what we want, but a challenge and overcoming and show yourself and the world, but mostly yourself, that wow, I actually accomplished this in spite of this and that and something else. And you can be proud and have this experience, something juicy that you've lived through. And I believe that's what life is about.
Well, and I think that I love that you put it that way because I think that's so true. If you are say a mountain climber and you were like, oh, I don't know, I just walked to the top of Everest. Like,
Exactly.
I don't think anybody would be like, well,
What's the
good,
big deal?
good for
What's the
you.
big
But if
deal?
you were
Yes.
like, okay, so here's kind of what happened, like I lost a
Exactly.
toe and this and that. And then all of
Yes.
a sudden you're like, oh my God, this is, and I think you can sort of cave that down or carve that down into any experiences you've had
Mm,
in your life,
exactly.
when there's, like you said, I like when you it makes it juicy when you have those failures, when you've had those moments where you've had lessons that need to be learned and all of that other stuff. It's almost more rewarding than somebody just going,
Hmm.
here you go. Like you get to kind of go,
Exactly.
hey, I put a lot into this. Like I earned this.
Exactly. 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 Yeah.
So, and I think that what the other thing that I hear a lot is that people always or quite often feel like, but there's always struggle. Like they get stuck
Mm.
in that sort of spinning circle of
Hmm.
feeling like, sort of the opposite. Well, not really the opposite of what we were just talking about, but feeling like, but does it always have to be a struggle to get there?
Exactly.
So what do you, well, how do you feel about those struggles being maybe optional?
Absolutely. Sometimes we can't avoid them. I mean, you fall, you break a toe, you have to go to the hospital, you have to fix it. It's painful. But quite often they are optional. We as humans have a tendency to to take on things seriously. Oh no, this is not good. Oh no, we have to do something about it. It's oy vey, and uh, I have to figure this out. I have to clean it up. It's all this work, and whereas what I've discovered, my clients have actually helped me discover. I've been helping people for over 15 years. Well, actually, it's 15 years this year. Uh, when you let yourself go for something pleasurable, something easy, something, let me just pause this negativity for a while. I'll clean it up later. I'll just give me a moment to really enjoy myself, to really take in the sun, to really to breathe some fresh air, just step outside, just the small little things, cup of tea, just sit down, look out the window, pick something you can focus on that is pleasurable, a color, the smallest little things, and let the oxytocin fill you. You will discover that when you go back to this horrible thing, the issue and the difficulty and the drudge, it's not so bad. It's not so dark. It's not so heavy. It's not so serious. Because although I just said earlier that we're supposed to experience things, it's not all supposed to be that way. It's not all supposed to be a heavy duty experience. So another side of life is to learn to take things lightly, not to take on and believe all these horrible things. And as I did also say just before, is that we believe our feelings. We don't need to believe the negativity. It's there to teach us lessons, but we can learn them in a lighter way. So we can go through tough things in a lighter way, in a more positive way, in a more constructive way. So allow yourself to really, really enjoy. So many people don't enjoy. They run by the enjoyment. They kind of, have that cake and hurry on to the next slice or the next thing or the next achievement. And oh, we bought this, and oh, now we can buy that. But so few people actually stop and appreciate. So gratitude is also a healing activity, and it heals the body, it heals the cells, it rejuvenates us, and things become so much lighter, even the difficult things in life, so to speak, the difficult things. So suffering is optional. I learned that expression from a colleague actually many years ago, and it is true. It's very true. It is optional. And to some people that are in the midst of it, if you are struggling and maybe for real, they're about to take your business, your house, your car, then it might feel like it's real. But even then, if you take a step back, if you step out, if you call someone nice, if you actually give yourself some proper pleasure, then it will dissipate. It will be less of a burden. Oh, okay, we'll get a new house, we'll get a new car. Well, let's see what else life will show us. Maybe you had taken on too much. Maybe you had too big of a house. Maybe you were taking on too much. And maybe a smaller house, smaller business. Maybe you don't need so many employees. Maybe you can, make things easier for yourself. That is the possibility on the other side of a disaster. All these words are so strong and they're so loaded with big stuff. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to take it that way, and you'll notice that it all is so much more enjoyable. Life becomes so much less of a struggle.
Well, and I think oftentimes I know, like, I found myself, and I learned this actually through crafting of all things, but I was taught to knit by like my mom and my grandmother. And of course, the more I started to do, the more intricate patterns I started like trying to work out. And I would always get like stuck. Something wouldn't work, or I would see a mistake, like, rows down, like, 5 days, 2 weeks beforehand, all of a sudden, this mistake pops up. And I remember being so frustrated and like sitting there and why isn't this working? And, or counting all of these stitches and I'm out one. Where did I lose it? And, getting so frustrated. And I remember once calling my mom and just being like, I can't figure this out. What is going on? And it was a pattern that she had worked on. And she was like, I don't have an answer for you, but just put it down. Like, put it down and walk away. and just like
Exactly.
take a breath
Mm,
and then come back to it. And it, exactly to the point that you were saying, once I learned to do that, I realized I was getting too stuck in the problem. So I was never seeing the
mm,
solution. I was stuck in the fact of like, I screwed up, I screwed up, I screwed
mm-hmm.
up, I screwed up. That was
Exactly.
all I kept, oh my God, I can't believe
Yes.
I screwed this
Comes a
up.
mantra. Yeah.
But when I walked away and then came back, all of a sudden I was like, oh,
Mm,
it's right there. All of a sudden I would see it and I would be like, oh my gosh. But it
exactly.
it still took me years to convert that over to business and go, when I'm in that moment where I'm like, why isn't this working? Why can't I
Mm,
figure this out? Why isn't this melding up?
yeah.
That taking those breaths, taking those moments to sort of step away from it and come
Yeah.
back, I agree with you, is so refreshing because all of
Mm,
a sudden you've lost, you're not stuck in that, that bubble of,
mm-hmm.
the mistake or the mess up or the, why can't I figure this out?
Exactly. Exactly. It's a self-hypnosis of sorts where you get so stuck on solving something. And that's what we're taught to do. Get a grip, uh,
Right.
uh, get better grades. It's all about kind of contracting your whole. Um, I mean, that's what's premiered out there. You have to be strong and tough, and a lot of these masculine traits are promoted, and they're not very healthy because nothing flows, nothing can shift out. Um, you don't have any room for the input because it's all shut down. I mean, the whole body, when my clients come to me, I can see when things are releasing and when they're letting go because their whole posture straightens up and their head starts actually facing the skies and the freedom. I mean, I don't know why that is, but it happens every time. The whole body shows that, oh, I can breathe clearer, fresher air. And you open up your cells, your physical cells are more open to receive and heal. And it's just beautiful that if you just let yourself not have to be so good and clever and sorted and so quick and efficient and all these things that we do
Yeah.
to ourselves.
Well, and as you
Uh,
were sort of describing that, I had this like image in my head of like, like a flower, sort of
mm,
trapped in like weeds or whatever.
exactly.
And as soon as you kind of
Yes.
clear that away, give it just a little bit of water, it's just amazing how
Yes.
plants do that. And they're like, oh, that's exactly what I needed. And it's usually
Beautiful.
something so
Yes.
simple, right? Like,
Yes.
oh yeah,
Yes.
thank you. I would like to see the sun. And
Yes.
that we need that too. We forget
We
we
do.
need that.
And another analogy about the flower is that the bud, it's a bit painful. I mean, I don't know, I haven't asked a flower, but it is a bit painful that when that bud has to kind of break open, it has to, I mean, sometimes in the spring I can hear how the birch buds break.
Right.
It's
Yes.
audible. It's such a beautiful sound because it's these tiny little ticks, and they have to break open. And the butterfly, the transformation. Yeah, it's probably painful. It has to fight a bit to get there. But if you can fight in with ease, if you can break that bud open with another attitude, it'll make all the difference.
Yeah. And I think, having that, having this conversation with you allows people to kind of recognize those things. I know for me, anytime I see like a dandelion growing like in the middle of cement, I always like stop and take a moment. And my
Mm.
husband always laughs at me because he's like, you look crazy. Cause I'm like, look at you. Good for you,
Oh,
because it's like, to me, it's
exactly.
like so exciting. And it's such a reminder of like, like if this little thing can do this,
Exactly.
like, I think I can get past.
The
Um,
magic of life
yeah.
and yes, and determination and um exactly. But it doesn't break through the cement. It finds an easier way. It
Mhm.
finds that little crack. And that's what we can do. We don't have to do it all ourselves. You might have someone helping you, but maybe you need another person, or maybe you need to switch something around, or so give yourself the option not to kind of force your way, but to back away. And that's one of the steps that I recommend that people actually, the first one is to take a deep breath and just step, either physically or in your mind, just take a step back from it. And just practically, you have a better view of the situation, because putting your face up against whatever is going on, you have no perspective, you have no options. There's nothing that can come in because you're, again, closed off
and can't see. Yeah. And I use that. I have like a little cartoon analogy I use with my clients, and it's a person that's like that, literally standing right up against a boulder going, I'm never going to get through this. It's going to take me forever. And then the next photo is like the person, like somebody dragging them back and realizing like there's nothing on either side of this boulder. Like you could literally just walk around it and get over the obstacle. And that's kind of, like, don't forget, that if you have that, you get to see that bigger picture. And sometimes you need to kind of step back and go, there is an easy, I didn't realize I could just walk around.
And for some reason, ease isn't premiered in the world. It's not something you get medals for. So it's that, it's the yin and yang, isn't it? The ease and the difficulty, and how they work together. And then that, as often as you can, try to make it easy, as often as you can, try to smell the flowers. But it's premiered out there. We get good grades for working hard. We get good grade. If someone, like we said earlier, if someone climbs a mountain with ease, they don't get that accolade. And yet that is a big part that we need to learn, because it's not all about difficulties. So especially if you have a business, if it's tough, back away, go out, step away, and take a big breath. And of course, tapping. I ask people to tap, because tapping, EFT tapping, reduces stress and frustration and irritation and all those so-called negative feelings. Up to 60%. Studies have shown that you can actually calm the system down, so that you can get your head over the water, and over feeling like you're drowning, or it's all overwhelming. So it's just a decision away, and that's why it can be so quick. And I've noticed that the biggest issue is that people don't believe that it can be this quick. Again, because that's everything else that you get medals for and praised for, is the difficult work and accomplishment. And
that if it's easy. And is that what kind of brought you to writing your book, your latest book? Because you're talking about 23 seconds. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, because I'm sure people are like, wait, what? That doesn't seem like enough.
I don't know how many times I counted it. And I was thinking, oh, can I really write 20? And I counted it and I did it, all the steps. And I'm like, it is 23. No, for everyone. I mean, some people will need a couple more and a few less, actually. But that's how easy it is to shift out of something. And it's actually even faster, but I don't dare to say that, but it is literally. I had a client the other day, and he was getting more and more upset about something. They were not treating him well at work, and he was really upset about that. And I could see how his whole expression, and it was oh. And I said, stop and just turn that around. And within just, I don't know if it took 5 seconds or 8.5, but all of a sudden his whole face softened and he started breathing calmly. And it's just a decision away. Don't fall for it. Don't do that to yourself. It's not worth it. Because although life does throw you some curveballs, most of them are your own choices.
So can we talk?
Yeah. No, I was
Can,
just going to say that sometimes it's satisfying to kind of raw, and it's not
right. You need
raw.
that, like, well, and I think, sometimes that outlet of like getting it out is nice. But I
Yes,
think what
it's not
happens a lot,
wrong.
like you said with your client, is you get you get sort of stuck in that negativity, or you get sort of
Mm,
trapped in that emotion of being upset, or and I we've all done it. You're describing a situation maybe after of what happened, and you kind of regurgitate the story a couple of times in that, to that same person, they're like,
yeah,
I know you
yeah,
just said this. But what are some
exactly.
techniques that our listeners can use to sort of, because I think we all kind of recognize we're getting pent up, whether that somebody
Hmm.
is like, why are you yelling at me? Like, you know, you can tell my husband says that to me sometimes. But what are some techniques when we realize like, oh, like I'm getting really stuck in this? What are some things that our listeners can do to sort of uh step out of that? Because I think,
Hmm.
some tangible techniques might help them of going, I don't know how to get out of this. How do I get
Hmm.
out of this myself?
Well, there's a psychological description of this, which is breaking state.
Okay.
So you can do that in very many ways. So the absolute fastest is to take a deep breath and just step away. And I just heard from a colleague the other day that he's got another kind of few steps, and his one is smile. And I really like that. But when you're in uh, a state that is a positive, smile might be a bit too much. So I would say that a deep breath, and then again, step away physically, get up, leave, tell someone that I'm sorry, I have to just, I'll come back. But it's a physical change in the body, which is the easiest, the quickest, because that you can do, although you're still in the motion of it. And then the breath, of course, which is healing. And so many of us don't breathe when we're upset. So breathing is really crucial because it releases and it heals, and especially an exhale. An inhale will most likely energize you, but an exhale, just let go.
Hmm.
So take a breath, step away, and then tap without, you know, giving away all of the tapping secrets, and there aren't that many actually. It takes very little time to learn tapping, and then it takes a lifetime to perfect it. But if you just start by tapping anywhere you want, forget the protocols. That in itself takes down the stress up to 60%. Um,
Mm.
and I keep saying that it's like an active, it's like meditation on steroids. Meditation is difficult for a person that is used to being active, used to thinking a lot, used to being in an active to-do state.
Hmm.
So EFT and tapping, and just tapping on your body wherever calms you down. You're doing the calming down as opposed to the original meditation, the original form is very painful for a person that is not calm and hasn't learned and hasn't gradually reduced the activity. It's physically unbearable sometimes to sit
Hmm.
still and take it easy. Because well-meaning people will often say, well, just take it easy, just calm down. But I can't because
Yeah.
the
You're stuck in
feelings are
it.
too
Yeah.
strong. Yes. So in order to reduce that state, just do the calming down, so to speak. And then the next few steps are the positivity. Go there quickly. Don't wait. Don't go there immediately as soon as possible. Find something, the smallest little thing. I'm an artist in another life, or partially in this life. I've painted and so colors. I get very triggered and lifted with colors and nuances, and something shimmers a certain way, or so I can get all peaceful if I choose a nice peaceful color. view, again, fresh air or a cup of coffee, tea, maybe not coffee, but if you have tea, that is calming. But even the coffee, the warmth of a drink, cool drinks normally don't calm you down. That's also more of an upper. But something that you can easily and quickly catch yourself or delve into, lose yourself into.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then the next step is to start hooking up to something grander than yourself. Again, God, higher spirit, intuition, something that you perceive as awe-inspiring. But those few steps, I've turned them into this little protocol, and you can do them if you need some sort of guidance, or people that do like protocols, or to get it into your system, into a habit to do these steps. I've put them in the book. And then how do you talk to yourself? So the mantras, the self-hypnosis, what do you say to yourself? Oh, that was stupid. Why didn't I figure that out? Why haven't I solved this yet? What's wrong with me? I should be better. I should be faster. I should be more efficient. I'm losing all this time, money, energy. What else can you say to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay. Something short, very short. I'm okay. It'll be fine. I'll figure something out. Something that you can believe. It cannot be something that you think that you should. The law of attraction has made people think that they should say certain things and convince themselves of certain things. But as soon as you don't believe it, that's it. You're lost. Your whole system will start protesting, start getting stiff, and show signs that it's not with you.
Mm-hmm.
Your system, your mind, your subconscious mind doesn't believe that you're going to work this out. Especially if you say, oh, it won't take long. When something in you thinks, oh, it's going to take forever.
Right.
Then you have to shift it to something that is believable to yourself. It might take a while, but I'll work on being patient, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So don't try to trick yourself. Don't try to force yourself. Don't try to convince yourself. Just find like a little mantra that soothes you, whatever it is. I'm okay. It's okay. I'll figure it out tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So those few little steps will get you in a much better place. And as you practice them, it doesn't take long. As you practice this, you can write this on a piece of sticky note, or you can get like a pretty little piece of postcard, or something that reminds you of this process. Or you can tear this out of my book and put it up somewhere. These few little steps, and they are all physically they affect the physicality. There are studies that show how all of this changes, how you shift the state, how you shift the way the oxytocin that starts going out into your body is healing. You get energized, not the kind of I want to run a marathon kind of energy, but more of a core energy, a cellular energy. So it's all very fascinating. And psychobiology is this new field that is finally measurable. You can finally connect the two. It used to be psychology and biology, and now it's psychobiology, because that's how we work.
Right.
So we can make ourselves sick, or we can heal ourselves. And of course, that is an interesting field. And of course, you can't talk about that unless you're a doctor, but they're starting to see that is how it works.
Yeah. And I think it's, that's so true in, in the avenue. And I have seen it, in family members and stuff like that who have that, mindset of, I'm
Mm,
just a sickly person. And I'm like, well, of
mm,
course you are. Right.
mm,
You've just made yourself that. But I think we also do it, in business life, we do it too, if we are constantly saying to ourselves, everything is always a struggle.
mm.
I have to fight for everything. You kind of almost create that atmosphere because you're searching for it, right? You're searching for the fight of going, okay, where is it? Because I'm expecting it. And I feel like, same thing as you said, that whatever you want to consider it, the universe goes, okay, fine. Like here, is that what you want? Right. There's no emotion in that. They're like, oh, okay, here you go. Like, if that's what you need, this is what
Exactly.
I shall deliver, and I've learned over, my lifespan of going, I really want to stop asking for the struggle. Like, it's just a lot simpler to go, no, just easy would be great. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. And there is something rewarding about the struggle. There's a certain high, there's a certain adrenaline that you might feel more alive around. So there are several things that actually do keep you there.
Hmm.
If you have a boring life at home, your family life isn't so great. Sure, being a workaholic is the best thing for you because it makes you feel like you're doing something meaningful. Hopefully, it's your passion that you're working with, your business, your adventures, and so yeah, there's a positive aspect to it as well. Unfortunately.
Hmm.
And it's not bad. I mean, adrenaline is fun, but when you're stuck in it and it's starting
Right.
to eat at you, maybe not so fun. So nothing in the world is bad apart from a few things. But even there, I mean, I actually do believe in that every single thing comes to us for a certain reason.
Hmm.
And even the toughest, hardest difficulties. And it is our job, I think, to bring down heaven to earth, to forgiveness and compassion and self-love and self-appreciation without condition, without having to be successful in your business, without having amazing profits, without climbing whatever echelons that society has come up with. Um, if you combine the two, if you combine the love power, if you combine self-love and again the oxytocin, there's so much healing to be had
Hmm.
if you let yourself,
Well, and I
if you
agree with you,
shift
when
into
you're
it.
saying that there's nothing really bad, and I agree with that, and I feel that because I feel everything in moderation. If you are if all you do is only surround yourself with happiness and nothing else, you never allow anything else in, you don't have that moderation of it, it's almost like it loses its effect. It's like you were saying, you need the yin and the yang because all of a sudden you appreciate that laugh more.
Mm-hmm.
The jokes become funnier, when you need them. Laughter is such
Mm-hmm.
an integral part of my life, but I find if all I'm ever doing is laughing, it's not the same as when I'm stressed and somebody makes me laugh, right? That's when
Exactly.
the gut wrenching, the barreled over, gonna pee my pants laughter happens. So it's,
Exactly.
we need everything in
Mm-hmm.
moderation, the struggle and the accolations, the
Yeah.
adrenaline and the calmness.
Right. Yeah, I've achieved that complete bliss, and that's what my work is about. My company is called Blissy Joy because that is where there's an amazing power, the love energy. It's huge and powerful and benevolent and all of that wonderful stuff. And I was in that state. I can take myself into that state, and I teach people to get a taste of it, and then if they stay there for a while, that's great too. But the reality is that when you're in there, that too becomes, like you said, mundane and not as wonderful forever. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they do it up there in heaven, but here on earth, it's you can't even sustain that for very long. You do need the variation. But what I noticed is that once I accomplished that, once I understood that that is there for me to have whenever I want, then everything else became so much easier to handle. And I can shrug things off and, oh, okay, well, now I need to plug myself up to this amazing feeling. And I know I have it. I don't have to yearn for it. I don't have to expect it from someone else. I don't have to um, be thoroughly devastated when someone is rude or doesn't give me what I want in this physical realm. Um, I can just shrug it off and go to that amazing place. But being there constantly, actually not such a big, great, amazing thing. But
Right.
having the access, that is what I'm trying to share with everyone. You can quickly, easily just plug yourself in, get your fix whenever you want in the middle
Mm-hmm.
of the storm. And that's, these big hurricanes, the center is peaceful and you can be there. You can put yourself there at will in seconds.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I think it's true for people to know it's no different than, if you wanted to compare it to like a dish that you really like, like a meal that you love is great when you have it. But if that's what you ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it wouldn't taste
Blah.
so great after a little while, right?
Right? Ice
But
cream
it's
every day. Ugh.
yeah, but knowing that, you have that there and again using,
Mm.
that you can go to it, when you need it and then not it turn into something I think is a great tip for people.
Mhm, mhm.
And I love that it is as simple as just, like you said, take a deep breath, take a physical step away, stand up, move away from your desk, that audible exhale of, just releasing whatever it is that you need to kind of get out. And tapping, I think, I have used tapping before, but I know there is sometimes I've stopped because I was like, oh, I don't, it's been a while. I don't remember. So I love that you said you don't have to follow all of the rules, just get yourself out of the situation. Don't make it as complicated where you're like, oh, like, get too stuck in that thought and then going to finding something positive that can be simple as a flower growing or a color or just looking for something that is going to change it or I use, like your colleague had said, I use laughter quite a lot. If we're really stressed around the office, there's always somebody who will go laugh and you don't feel
Perfect.
it at the beginning, but
Perfect.
you're like, ha 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 ha, like, and somebody else laughs, and then all of a sudden
Exactly.
everybody's laughing. And it's like,
Right?
it's just a technique that we use because
Uh-huh.
it just helps, right? It helps you to get out
Yes.
of yourself. It helps you to kind of remove yourself for the situation. And it helps everybody else because
Yeah.
inevitably you hear that, ha 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 ha, ha, coming from them and they're stressed
I
and
love it.
everybody knows
I
that
love it.
call, right? They're like, okay,
Right.
like we need to go, Sierra needs
Right.
our help or, oh, Lily's doing the laugh. Like, let's go.
Right.
Somebody will always pop their head in and be like,
Exactly.
like what's going
And
on?
that's why I really liked what my colleague said, because his protocol is the first thing to do is to smile.
Hmm.
And that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
But it's not the most difficult thing is to convince someone that it is this simple,
Yeah.
that it is this quick. People just don't believe it can't be this quick, can't be this easy. But it
Yeah.
is. It really is. But sometimes, someone needs help. Sometimes someone needs a protocol. We're all different. So yeah, there's help to be had, but try it. Just it's really great.
Yeah. And you have a thing that you're going to give us which is free and it's the 5 most effective steps. Are
Mm-hmm.
these the 5 steps that we just talked about?
Yes, except I
Okay.
explain them in more detail,
Okay.
and it's a guided step by step. It's it's not a PDF. Everyone loves these PDFs. This is a what is it called? Like a little. It's not a booklet. Well, I guess it's a digital booklet. So you get a page, and then you go to the next page, and you see, take the first step and the second step, so you can follow that along.
Yeah. All
And
right.
there's
Well,
the guide. There's the guidance to go inwards into the heart, into the realms, into whatever intuition, whatever voice. So it's a very
yeah.
easy and simple picture. I have to. Oh, my Swedish is not allowing me to find the English word here, but yes, it's a
Yeah.
nice little guide,
Well,
page
we'll
by
make sure that we
page.
have the link to, to that and to your website as well. When people do go to your website, what kind of things will they find if they're looking to maybe delve a little bit more into discovering the techniques that you use and teach on?
I have some studies, so you can read a few studies as to why and how it works. I used to have a much bigger collection, but my whole site crashed. Malware ate it
Oh,
all up.
oh
Yes,
no.
that happens for real. That is real in business. So do back your things up as much as you can. I had some backups, but just not enough. And so yeah, I'm repairing and filling it up again. But there are some studies to show you. There are I have a course now that I'm running, and that comes back. I have free meetings, so if you want to meet up, we can meet. I have group twice monthly. I have a meetup, so we can practice this together. You can get your questions answered, or um, whatever you have, whatever you're wondering about, and I take you through it in person, well, in a group.
Perfect. Well, we'll make sure we
So
have all of the links to where people can find you, all of the resources and groups and everything that you have to offer. And, eh, thank you so much for coming on and just showing, I think, in the examples that you gave, I hope that everybody who's listening to this does just take, 23 seconds out of your day. We
exactly,
all have that to,
we
to
do.
just practice this and see how it,
Yes,
how it works for you. Thank you so much, Joanna, for sharing your knowledge with
thank
us
you,
today.
Tanya. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
A huge thank you to Joanna for coming on. And, afterwards we had kind of talked about, when we were off air, that sometimes when things are so simple, when the answer or the solution to something that we're having seems so simple, like you can get out of, the stress and the, just the tension of everything in 23 seconds. It seems impossible. And we have a tendency to not believe that or to not trust in that. But the truth is, it's all about just stepping away, getting out of that situation, taking that breath. And too often, and I know I am very much guilty of this, that it is very easy to get stuck, especially more so in the negativity. We don't often find ourselves stuck in the positivity, or feel that it is an issue when we are stuck in the positivity. But just doing, these simple steps that you can do very quickly and very easily, both in your business and in your personal life, is the reason I wanted to have her on the show, because I think it's something, whether you're doing it in business, whether you're doing it in a personal life, whether you're trying to figure out, different ideas. I use techniques of stepping away when people are trying to think outside of the box in doing collaborations. And often people will go like, I just can't, like, I can't think of anything. My mind is a blank, blah, blah, blah. And I use these similar techniques and some of her 5 steps to help people go, you're just stuck. Let's take a step. Let's take a step back. Let's look at this from a different set of eyes, from a different location, and see how we can do this. So just, work on these techniques, practice these the next time you're feeling stuck or you're feeling like you're not exactly too sure how to get out of this situation, or you're just feeling like, oh, why does this keep happening to me? What the hell is going on? When you find yourself, feeling that pent up, feeling that, that clenched fist, that the furrowed eyebrows, just using one, two, or all five of these techniques and see which one really works for you and playing around with them. So I hope that you head over to our website, check out the blog post. We're going to have the 5 most effective steps to ease and struggle-free success. The direct link is going to be on there where you can get that. And, like she said, is really, these 5 steps are based on cutting edge science and heart-centered practices. And these were all developed using highly acclaimed institutions such as Harvard, Berkeley, Pennsylvania University. So this is something that's really bringing, kind of science and intuition sort of together. And it's really, really neat. And a lot of the studies that, she has on her site, and as she said, there is more coming, are always interesting to read. So if you are from, more of a scientific mindset, or, you want the study-based knowledge behind it, there's that available there for you too. So I hope you will check that out. And as I always say, no matter what it is that you're doing today, whether you are just taking a moment out or, using laughter to help you get out of a tough situation, use it. Because as I always say, have fun. Because if you're not having fun, why would you be doing it?